Yeah, I mean, it gives me a different, further perspective. It's a bit perplexing, the whole, quite technical.
It's a question of how you use your intelligence.
Right.
Like your intelligence can be spiritual. That, your intelligence is fixed in Krishna and pleasing Krishna, then your intelligence can be actual spiritual. But if your intelligence is actually based on carrying out the injunctions of the mind, then the intelligence is mundane. How can you say the intelligence is any higher than the mind if intelligence is used to carry out the desires of the mind? Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, so the desire comes from the mind, and when the
desire comes from the soul. Desire comes from the soul. The mind and the soul decides to be material, and the mind gives instructions to the intelligence.
Right.
Just like, for example, let's say, I'll give my own example. It's kind of funny. I always give this. Let's say my senses start contemplating a very fancy car. You've all heard me give this example before. Anyway, I'm not going to mention what it is. It's a Tesla. Anyway, so if my mind starts contemplating it, my senses start contemplating it, then my mind directs the intelligence on how to achieve its goal of getting the Tesla, which is a pretty bad idea anyway. So therefore, Jayate Vishakat Pumsam Tesham Jayate Vishakat Pumsam. So what is the rest of that verse? Anyway, contemplating sense objects, attachment develops, then after that, lust, and one loses their anger, one loses their intelligence, and then falls down the material whirlpool. So that's actually the point. In that sense, the senses are actually pulling the mind in a particular direction. The mind is pulling the intelligence or bewildering the intelligence, and then one falls down in the material whirlpool. But if one's soul decides, that the desire actually comes from the soul. If the soul actually desires to be Krishna conscious, then you use your intelligence to control the mind. Otherwise, you have the mind directing the intelligence, which is interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Who else has a question?
I leave now. Thank you for your association, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Okay, Draupadi. We missed
See you soon in New Zealand.
We missed all the prasadam there. Hey.
Do come over soon, Guru Maharaj.
Well, we'll see. Where's Tilakini? Is she online? No.
No, I'm at work, so I don't know where she is.
You're at work. Is it dangerous for us to
Guru
talk
Maharaj.
to you?
Pardon?
You're in the hospital. Is it dangerous for us to talk to you?
Yeah, but I'm locked in a room and then I'm talking to you.
I guess I have to wash my hands before touching my computer now after talking to you.
Don't worry, Guru Maharaj, this place is locked down.
Okay. So what question do you have? Uh-oh.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
It's Ratnalika here.
Yeah, Ratnalika. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
So my blessings. So what's up?
Yesterday, you were talking about Hanuman entering Lanka and burning Lanka. So I was wondering, did he meet Vibhishan when he was in Lanka?
Yeah, he met Vibhishan. I didn't actually mention that, I don't think. I wasn't telling the whole story. I actually didn't tell the whole story about that. But he met Vibhishan first, yes. Before he went up Lanka. And Vibhishan, I mean, I didn't get into all the details, but Vibhishan sort of indicated to him that Sita was in the Ashok Grove. Because first, there's an interesting part of the Valmiki Ramayana where Hanuman, he goes into, first of all, and you probably heard me talking about this, he went into Ravan's harem. Harem means where he kept all of his wives. And Hanuman was circulating around looking for Sita Devi. And he was, first of all, he was thinking, what am I doing here in the middle of the woman's ashram? You know, I'm a brahmachari. And then he realized that he was serving Ram and it was all right for him to be there. Finally, he finds Mandodari and Ravana lying in the middle of the room. And he's thinking, first of all, he wants to kill Ravan, but then he realizes Ravan's order just to find Sita Devi. And then he thinks that Mandodari, who is Ravana's wife, is actually Sita Devi, and he starts kissing his tail in ecstasy, thinking like that. But then after that whole thing happens, he becomes very disappointed because he's not able to find Sita Devi, and he even goes into the banquet hall, which I mentioned the other night, and finds all the liquor and everything that everybody's been drinking. And he gets ready just almost to leave his body. He gets so depressed. He said, I've searched everywhere several times, and I haven't been able to find Sita Devi, so what's the use of my life? And then finally, by the help of Vibhishan, he's able to find Sita Devi. But there's an elaborate description in the Valmiki Ramayana of all the Rakshasinis that are guarding Sita Devi. It's described that some of them have heads coming out of their stomachs. Some of them have heads coming from where they sit. Some of them have noses on their forehead. They're quite ugly creatures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you should all read the Valmiki Ramayana. It's quite an interesting description of Lord Ram's pastimes. And it gets into a lot of detail, a lot of emotional stuff. It's very, very poetic.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Thank you, Gurudev. Yeah, thank you. I was just thinking that when Vibhishan was going to surrender to Lord Rama, then there was these monkey soldiers, they were doubting Vibhishan. So I was wondering that if Hanuman had already met Vibhishan and knows that he is already a pure devotee, so wouldn't he and Lord Rama know that he is already a pure devotee when he was coming to surrender?
Yeah, he knew. He knew. So what happened is that the soldiers who first saw Vibhishan along with his assistant, he had 4 people with him when he flew over to see Ram. And that was calling me. So the soldiers, Hanuman wasn't there at that particular time. So they brought Vibhishan to Lord Ram, and then Hanuman was there, and then Hanuman attested to Vibhishan's devotion at that particular point. Because I guess Hanuman hadn't told Lord Ram yet about Vibhishan. And then, of course, there's that famous statement in the Ramayana when Lord Ram said that even if Ravana himself surrendered unto him, he would accept him as his own. Because even at that point, some of the other monkeys were objecting to Lord Ram accepting Vibhishan. Like you had Sugriva and others saying, you never know. How can you trust? Let me just turn off, mute someone else. How can you trust the brother of the enemy? They were making that point. You cannot trust the brother of the enemy. So, therefore, but Ram said that even if Ravana himself came to surrender, I would accept him. It's a very, very interesting point. That's why Ram is called Pati to Pavana. Pati to Pavana, Sita Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Gurudev.
Okay. Put you on mute again. Okay. So, who else has a question?
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Gurudev.
Krishna, Guruji.
Hey, Abhavan. Hey, that's pretty good.
Please accept our humble obeisances.
Wow. Great to see you. So, what's up?
Wanted to know, why don't we make reference to the Tulsi Das Ramayana, Gurudev?
Sometimes I do make reference to the Tulsi Das Ramayana, although it's not authoritative. The devotees here in Fiji generally read or have read or have heard from the Tulsi Das Ramayana. And It's not bad, but it's not philosophically absolutely correct, and there's some details in there that are not absolutely true. So, but there are certain. Tulsidas was a great devotee of the Lord. It's not for me to criticize such a great devotee or criticize anything he's done. See, the Tulsidas Ramayan is a Ramayan that was written for North India. As you travel around India, you'll discover that there's Ramayans in every state of India. There's one in Tamil Nadu. There's one in Andhra Pradesh. Practically every state that speaks a different language other than Hindi has a local Ramayan. And all of these Ramayans are based on the original Ramayan, which is, of course, the Valmiki Ramayan. So I like to make reference to the original Ramayan, Valmiki Ramayan, although I have no trouble with the Tulsidas Ramayan. Just to be a little politically incorrect, Prabhupada did say that Tulsidas's Ramayan has a tinge of Mayavad philosophy in it.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
just like one thing, you see, has anyone ever seen this deity of Panchamukha Hanuman? Anyone's heard about that before? Panchamukha Hanuman? No. I'm sure some. Yeah, I can see some of you raising your hands. It's all a concoction. It's a Mayavadi concoction because it depicts Hanuman praised basically as the supreme person, as an incarnation of the supreme personality of Godhead. And so there's many philosophical details that don't really coincide with our Siddhanta in the Tulsidas Ramayana.
Okay.
Although I'm not denying he has a lot of devotion for Lord Ram. He's a much better devotee than I'll ever be, but I want to respect all Vaishnavas. But at the same time, we have to understand when something is philosophically off or philosophically on. And the Valmiki Ramayana is the original. The other day we told the story about Valmiki, and I'm not going to tell it again, how Valmiki was empowered by Lord Brahma and by Narada Muni to compose the Ramayana. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, other questions? I guess we should put you on speaker view. Who else has a question? Oh, looks like Saubhagya is raising her hand or something. Maybe that's just an illusion. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Guru
Good to
Maharaj.
see you. Haribol. Jai.
The question I was hearing, you did touch on that the mind and the intelligence. So the question I had for myself while I was listening to you was that, I'm trying to make an analogy, is it that mind is just like a hard drive, hard disk, and the intelligence is the microprocessor, the CPU, the main brain? Because when we go through our growth, we see all those things and we perceive a lot of information, and that gets stored in our mind. And then the intelligence, which comes on later and processes, suddenly I see something and it processes and tells, oh, okay, this is Krishna, this is Rama, this is, or another, this color blue, this, because everything has been programmed. And the spiritual path, that's where I have to, I think, the brain, I have to train my brain, just like write another algorithm, just like it cleans up my mind of all those unwanted things, unwanted clutter, so that I have my direction is well defined, so that there's minimum distraction. The storage, the important stored in the mind is basic. What I
let me answer that before it gets too complex. So you left one element out. One element is the brain. The brain is not the mind. Actually, my hands keep disappearing in this picture, but it's interesting. This is backdrop. So you have a brain. The brain is a computer. That's basically all it is. It's nothing more than a very, very complex computer that filters whatever consciousness we have. Okay. So that's a part of the gross body. Now you have a subtle material body too, which is called the Linga Shavira, which is comprised of the mind. It's basically sometimes called a mental body. And that mental body is the body basically of your stored up impressions and desires throughout many, many lifetimes. That's why when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, what do we say? Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahatbhagnim Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritaspadanam Sarvatmas Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Let's say I gotta put someone on mute here. I think Dhammaruchi, you gotta put yourself on mute because I can hear you still. So in other words, by the chanting of Hare Krishna, okay. By the chanting that's good. By the chanting, see, someone comes on with a baby, it's a little bit of a problem. So by the chanting of Hare Krishna, we cleanse the mirror of the mind, cleanse the mind, the impressions, the coverings of the soul. So the mind is basically our subtle body. And then using basically the analogy that we're most comfortable with, the intelligence is higher than the mind. So the intelligence is what direction you get from the super soul that's based upon the mind's desire, or the soul's desire. The soul's desire manifests through the mind. Let's say that I want something. Again, use that example of a car. Okay, I'm not going to mention the car type. So let's say you want a particular car. Krishna will give you the intelligence on how to get that car if you have the proper karma, enough karma, and then it'll use the mind to carry out the intelligence's directions. Does that make sense? So that's the difference. That's the difference between the mind and the intelligence. The mind is the subtle body of the living entity. The intelligence is what directions the mind gets because of the desire of the soul. Whatever you desire, Krishna says, Matat Smritir Jnanam Apoanam Cha. I am giving everyone remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge according to their desire. That's why it's important to have the right desire. If you desire to forget Krishna, then you will get the intelligence on how to forget Krishna. If you desire to remember Krishna, you will get the intelligence on how to remember Krishna. Does that make sense or what?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, it's a lot to digest, but thanks for explaining it now.
The important, what we can get from that, the important thing is to actually control our desires.
That's what I got the essence, and that's what basically.
Yeah, that's the essence, to control our desires. And the way we control our desires is not simply negating a bad desire, but having the good desire. And we get that by association with the devotees of the Supreme Person, pure devotees of the Lord. Like if you associate with Prabhupada by reading his books, hearing from Prabhupada, and serving Prabhupada, the right desires are actually manifest. That's the sadhu sangha. It's like the heart, right? Let me continue with this analogy. The heart is a mirror. So when a mirror is focused on something, it reflects what it's focused on, right? Let's see if I have a mirror here. It was a mobile phone, anyway. So whatever. So So when we're with someone, our heart, if we're associated with someone, our heart reflects their association. So if we keep good association, our heart reflects that person's consciousness. And if we have bad association, our heart reflects that person's consciousness too. Okay?
Yes, yes, Guru Maharaj.
I have one question.
Okay,
As a mother, I have always, heard bhajanas, Yashoda, Ranjana. And when I sing that song, I include Devki Ma's name as well. I just wonder why only Yashoda Ma is glorified, why not Devki Ma as well? She has suffered so much to get Krishna on this earth. Both the mothers should be glorified.
Yes, that's true. I agree with you. Actually, Yashoda Maya, she suffered when Krishna left Vrindavan. She actually suffered. Well, I'm not trying to minimize Devaki's suffering, but Yashoda Maya suffered for more than 100 years.
Yes, she did.
Where Devaki just suffered for how many years? Probably about 20-something years, including all the other kids that were killed. I mean, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. We should glorify Devaki. Krishna's also Devaki Nandana, Yashoda Nandana. And we should glorify Vasudeva. And
yes.
you're absolutely right. So I apologize to Devaki for not chanting better. That's good. I really appreciate your bhav, your emotion. That's very beautiful. I mean, it's actually, joking aside, it's extremely beautiful that someone is actually feeling like that.
Thank you.
The whole point of being Krishna conscious, you have to really let your heart enter into the emotional state of Krishna consciousness. It's not just an intellectual jugglery. It actually has to come from the heart. So if there's a manifestation of, it's like sorrow because Devaki's not glorified, or manifestation of, wait a second, Partha. Manifestation of sorrow because Sita was sent into the forest by Ram. I mean, sometimes I even get angry at Ram because he sent Sita into the forest. I understand philosophically, but actually even higher than philosophically is bhav. Because the real point of all the philosophy we have, and I was mentioning this yesterday to Arjuna and Madhava Sangani, the real point is the bhav in the heart towards Krishna's pastimes and the holy names. Some people get really into the philosophy and they like to juggle things and analyze things. Just like I was discussing yesterday, some people say that unless you know where the soul came from, you can never realize your spiritual identity. Which that's crazy. That's crazy because actually the only way you're going to realize your spiritual identity is Bhaktimam Abhijanati Abhinyas Chasmi Tatvata. And by Machita Madgata Pranada Bharyantascha Parasparam, by hearing chanting about Krishna. And the Bhagavatam says, Dharma Swanastita Pumsam Vishwasena Katasa Yet Notpadiyat Yadi Ratim Sharmayeva Kevalam. That even if you do everything else right and you don't develop an attachment for the holy name of Krishna Kata, it's all a waste of time. Even if you're the most expert person in philosophy, if you're not attached to Krishna and have this bhav, and I very much appreciate your bhav, and you don't have this bhav, then it's just like spinning your wheels with a car. I'm sure you've all seen a car, sometimes you get stuck in the mud, it spins its wheels, doesn't get anywhere. So there's a lot of devotees who just like juggle things up in their brains, and they never go beyond the brain, even to the mind or the intelligence. So thank you for your questions. Okay, put you on mute. So any other questions? looks like we have someone from Australia. We're not supposed to allow Australians to come on. They're a different species. Anyway, so Nanda Baraj, you have any questions? I can't hear you. Okay.
Maharaj, is there mention in the Valmiki Ramayana about Ravan instructing Lakshman at the time of his death?
No, that's not there in the Valmiki Ramayana.
Yes.
That's there in other Ramayans and also in the movie. But don't believe everything you see in the movies. No, it's not. I mean, that's of course I'm aware of that story. I mean, I know all the stories in practically most of the other Ramayans and also the movies where Ram instructs Lakshman to take instruction from Ravan, but it's not really a true story. I mean, it might have happened.
Is it in?
What's that?
Is it also in Tulsi Ramayana?
I don't remember reading it in the Tulsi Ramayana. Perhaps there's one of you who is more expert than I am in the Tulsi Ramayana, but it's not in the Valmiki Ramayana. See, a lot of the times when people tell these stories, they really get into like folk tales. Like if you go, I mean, for example, if you go to Braj, you'll find people telling all sorts of stories about what Radha and Krishna did. And then if you ask them, where did you get your information from? They probably don't even know. So it's important to consult with our acharyas or our authorities. I mean, it's a branch of philosophy. If you get a little philosophical, it's called epistemology. How do you know what you know? So generally, when we speak, at least on spiritual terms, we should speak about things that we've heard from authorities. Something we know to be true. I mean, in the material world, I can speak about things, that are relative. But in the spiritual topics, we should always be able to cite authority, and that's what Srila Prabhupada did. He always cited authority.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Nanda Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Who else has a question?
Right. Krishna.
On the Kunja?
Krishna Maharaj. I was just wondering, what do you follow, especially at times like this?
It's hard to hear you. Can you speak closer to the phone?
I was wondering, how do we cultivate tolerance, especially at times like this when schedules and routines are all, turned upside down? One thing we have done is, make a new schedule and routine, but still there's a lot to tolerate. And our space is quite, the space is, it's a small space for the whole family to be in, and we're confined in this small space. So how do we, cultivate that tolerance?
So are you allowed to go outside and walk, or you just have to confine?
We have been going for walks. We can go for walks.
Of course, that was the first thing I was going to suggest, that you do some exercise and take some walks and things like that. Somehow or other, as Krishna says in the Gita, to see everything in him is Yomam Pashati Sarvatra Sarvam Chamayi Pashati. To try to understand that whatever happens outside of our control is being arranged by Krishna. And then trying to understand what Krishna is doing. And then also coming to the realization that we can't control everything. I mean, I had that interesting realization here in Fiji. First, when they had this, the coronavirus, of course, I was thinking, it's very interesting. I was thinking, no problem, I'll be able to arrange my flight out. And so I got one reservation, I thought, yeah, I got it done. I'm intelligent. And then they canceled that flight. So then I got another reservation. I just used my brain that I'm so attached to. And I got another one thinking that, I somehow or other, Krishna's, anyway, it's my Maya, that I'm thinking I can think my way out of any situation. It happens when you're really proud, happen to be a guru and really proud. So then I got another flight, and the whole time is just very passionate, just thinking, now I've won, I got another flight out of here. That was canceled. Then I called Krishna Chandra, and I said, can you arrange a flight through New Zealand? Is it all right for me to transit New Zealand? And he finds out, yes, it's all right for you to do that. And I become ecstatic, and we make arrangement, get another flight. And then thinking, yes, I've got it made. I get in a car, drive out of Suva all the way to Nandi and think, I've done it. I'm intelligent. Anyways, and then as we're on the way to Suva, I get notice they've closed down the whole airport in Nandi. I mean, on the way to Nandi. They've closed down the whole airport in Nandi. So at that point, hey Govinda. And I can equate that with Draupadi's situation. Draupadi was fighting against Dushashan. We may not be like fighting physically against anybody, but we all think that we're the controllers. I mean, maybe you don't, but we all I mean, every one of us is thinking, I'm intelligent, I went to the university, these other devotees, they may not be able to figure things out, but I'm much better than them. So somehow or other we think we can arrange it. Then Krishna, he just pulls the rug out from under us and shows us that we can't control things. I mean, that's what Krishna has shown me. He's really helped me become Krishna conscious by this whole situation. Because here I am trapped in Fiji. And I'm not complaining about being trapped in Fiji. I mean, I definitely not complaining. I get to go to the beach every day. People feed me 200 courses of whatever every night. Give me a stomach ache. And Monday, someone is going to rent a beach house for me. I mean, I can't really complain. I mean, people ask me. I mean, I get all these statements on the internet. Why do you want to leave there? What's wrong with you? Anyway, so Krishna's actually shown me. I mean, actually, I would like to leave because I don't like to be confined. But Krishna, none of us like to be confined. I mean, we all like this freedom. We have this need for autonomy. It's one thing, if someone confines you, even in the nicest place in the world, you're told you have to do something. It's very frustrating. So, I mean, I'm actually learning to chant better and to surrender to Krishna's will by this coronavirus thing. I mean, in one sense, I'm thanking Krishna for it. Like Queen Kunti, of course, I'm not Queen Kunti, and I'm not like Queen Kunti. She said, Krishna, let these miseries come again and again and again. So you and all of us have to figure out, why is Krishna put us individually in this circumstance? I know why Krishna has done this to the whole world. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. Karma, all these viruses come from eating bats or bugs or whatever people are eating in China. It's interesting, all these viruses. I mean, Krishna's teaching lessons worldwide to everybody, but also on an individual basis. Krishna's teaching each and every one of us something. And so you have to internalize and understand. You're not the controller anymore. That's frustrating. Because Ishwara aham bhogi siddhoham, balavan sukhi. Each and every one of us is like demoniac mentality thinking, isn't it? That I'm the controller, I'm perfect, I'm powerful, I'm happy, I'm the enjoyer. So here I am, big sannyasi, and I can't have my way anymore. That's more frustrating than anything I can think of. What do you think, Krishna Chandra?
Yes, Gurudev.
When you, especially, I'm sure Krishna Chandra can relate to that because he's like managing so many things. And what do you do now? It's beyond you. And all this has been taken away by one stupid little bug that you can't even see. I mean, if it was another person, at least I could attack him or something. But it's a little, microscopic nanoparticle, not even a cell, it's a virus, and he's changed the whole world. So there's something for all of us to learn in this circumstance. And and it is frustrating, but it also teaches us we're not the controller anymore. I was thinking I could control my way out of Fiji, and I'm not. I may still get out of Fiji, but that's up to Krishna. Or I may get stuck here for 6 months. Who knows? Don't feel sorry for me. So, that's individual. So what your circumstance is your individual circumstance. You're in this little tiny place, and with the children and your husband. And actually, it's good actually to develop relationships with people too. Because generally we're so busy that we don't have time to talk to each other. Isn't that true? You just like, we're running here. Oh yes, Krishna's RT, Krishna this, Krishna that, which is nice. I'm not criticizing Krishna. Wouldn't be a devotee if I did. But we're running here and there, and we don't really get a chance to get to know each other. Even couples, even people who've been living with each other for 30, 40 years. When's the last time you sat down and talked about things? Long time, isn't it? You can ask. I'm not going to go around the room and ask all the couples here. But, you talked about things, your expectations in life, your plans, what's life all about. And usually life is so passionate. So we're actually being taught to come to the mode of goodness now. Right? It's good. It's goodness. You're stuck in one place. All right. You're in the Himalayas now with your children. The children and husband. That's a pretty interesting place to be in the Himalayas with. But it's just somehow or other we have to cope. We have to cope. We have to learn how to communicate with each other. How to be human beings again. This is actually, that's a big lesson we can learn from this. And how to appreciate and love your children. I know the children can drive people crazy sometimes. But your children are nice. If you have any trouble with your children, just let them watch Star Wars or something.
Yeah.
Not really. That's a joke. It's not.
Yeah, it definitely has brought in so many opportunities for us to take more, I guess, a shelter of Krishna.
Yeah.
And as you said, develop better relationships with the family. And it's true that life is so passionate. Passion is like, and the time to slow down. Get deeper relationships.
Yeah. So I think it's a wonderful thing, this virus, that we can develop deeper relationships with each other. We're stuck in the same place. Then we get to know each other. Just me, all I get to know is my computer and all the little people on the screens. No, but I'm staying with very nice devotees. I'm staying with Sanatan. You probably all know Sanatan. Sanatan and his family, Saki and some other disciples here. And it's interesting that the devotees in Lotoka are not even allowed to come here. Like Rasti Hari, he's locked in Lotoka. And Krishna Chandra will appreciate that. And for the first time in his life, he has to take rest at 10 o'clock at night because there's a curfew. I mean, usually he does these programs that go to midnight, 1 o'clock. It's illegal now. So he has to finish by 9. So maybe he has to learn how to get done early. But he's running around. He's actually in charge of this whole area, the Western Division Health Department. And so he's running around just worried about this coronavirus thing. Okay, let's give one other person an opportunity, and then I'm going to have to end. Does anyone else ask a question?
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Revati Nandan here.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Thank you. Gurudev, I want to know, according to Valmiki Ramayana, Vedavati is
Wait, let me mute that other person. Okay, I just muted them. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. According to Valmiki Ramayana, Vedavati is an incarnation of any goddess or something?
Yes.
Or what is it?
Yeah, let me explain that. I explained that the other night in our class. Vedavati, okay, so the whole story is that Ravan was on his Pushpaka Vimana. And he came upon Vedavati, who was on the mountain meditating and performing austerities to get Narayan as her husband. So it's described in the Valmiki Ramayana and also in the Puranas that Vedavati is Bhudevi. Now, the two consorts of Narayan are Shri and Bhu. You follow so far?
Yeah.
Shri, of course, is Lakshmi, Sita Devi, and Bhu is an expansion of Lakshmi, Sita Devi. Bhudevi, sometimes described as Bhumi. So you disappeared. There you are.
Yeah.
So she is actually expansion of Sita Devi, and Ravan tried to grab her by the hair, and she cut the hair off, and she immolated herself and said that she would take birth in Ravan's kingdom and be the cause of death of Ravan. So that is her position. Okay?
Yes.
So she's actually expansion of Sita Devi, known as Bhudevi. And then Bhu or Bhumi or Earth goddess, etc., like that. And then, just one other final thing was very interesting. I found out the other day from the Puranas that that when you have there's the whole story of Manthara and Kaikeyi. Everybody remembers that story. One person asked me, who was Manthara? I mean, like, what is her background? Who was she before? And it turns out that Manthara was the wife of Kali, like in Kali Yuga. It was really interesting. So and also, Manthara took birth as the wife of Duryodhana in the last year. So Manthara, so what is Kali's business? Kali's business is to create strife and fighting between devotees and between non-devotees too. So in this particular instance, Manthara created the strife between Kaikeyi and I guess everybody else, and she was the cause of all that because Manthara actually polluted her mind. So from this we can understand that if we allow our mind to be polluted by the influence of this age of Kali, then we can act contrary to Ram's interests too. So we have to be very, very careful. Because how is her mind polluted? Oh, someone sent me a chat message. How is her mind polluted? Her mind was polluted by hearing. In the Vedic literatures, the Bhagavatam, it describes that Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Kata. This is actually a statement by Lord Kapiladev. that there's a direct channel between the whoops, someone else has their stuff on. There's a direct channel between the ear and the heart. And so when you hear something, it actually affects your consciousness because the consciousness is situated in the heart. So we have to be very careful what we hear. If we hear criticism of Vaishnavas, or we hear some impersonal philosophy, or we hear some material vibration or material song, it actually enters into our heart and covers up our consciousness. So Kaikeyi was influenced just from hearing. Remember that. Nothing else. She loved Ram so much before that whole incident with Mantra, right? That just by hearing a little bit of poison being poured in the ear of Vaishnava Aparada or Vishnu Aparada, Vaishnava Aparada, then she changed her whole consciousness. So there's a lesson. So each and every story in the Ramayana has a lesson that we can apply in our own lives. Try to remember that it's not just the story, not just the story. Even beginning with the story of Valmiki, who was Ratnagara before, how by chanting the holy names, he became purified. That's something we can apply. The mantra story we can apply. So any of these stories in the Ramayana that we're familiar with, we should be thinking always, how does that apply to my life? Okay, I think it's time to go. It's nice meeting with everybody. Wow, this is fantastic. You know, we have how many people here now? 32 people. Wow. I think if they find out about this in Fiji, I'll get arrested. We're not allowed to have over 20 at one time. All glories to that. So anyway, anyone who wants to have like a personal darshan with me, just let me know and we can arrange it rather than like so many people simultaneously. But this is a very good technique to use, a very good technology. And I request any of you who have the ability to do this, to go on the internet and try to reach out to other people, even if it's just on a one-by-one basis. Because people are sitting there, just like you are all sitting at home. I'd never get so many people on the internet before. Because you'd all be out running around, buying things, doing whatever you're doing. I would never have this sort of audience. So why not all of you do this too? What do you think? Does everybody agree? Krishna Chandra, you can do Nitai Pad, you can do, so many. Even Hari Bhakti, he's there. Wow. He can do Kanaka Madhuri, Venkateshwara. It's amazing. So many nice people.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Haribol. Oh, good to see you. Yeah, I see it. Wow. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I miss you all. Anyway,
We miss you too.
I'll come soon. I mean, whenever they let me out of confinement. So anyway, I encourage you all to reach out, get others to chant from your own home. And if anyone wants to have a private conference with me, just go ahead and let me know, either by email or by other means, and we can arrange it, because I'm sitting here preaching to people all day long. But now I'm going to preach to the beach. The wave.
Gurudev, humble request, can we have this at least once a day or maybe every second day?
All right, maybe every second day, not once a day. There's other places in the world. Yeah, sure. If you all want to do that, come up with a list of questions. I think rather than me just telling stories, it's better that devotees come up with questions, and then you could all individually ask questions. How's that sound?
Yeah. Sounds good, yeah. So we'll do every second day, Gurudev?
Yeah, every second day, so we'll arrange that. I mean, of course, I'll let you know what's happening with my traveling.
Yeah.
There is a possibility I mean, the embassy told me today that within the next week or two, they're going to arrange a flight out. And then you'll have to pray to me that I'm not exposed to the virus on my way to America. But then we can arrange things from America, because once I get to America, I'll be in confinement too. The same rules are there in America, and I have 14 days self-isolation anyway as soon as I arrive back.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like for the next 2 or 3 months, we're all going to be locked down. Pretty interesting. You better get to know each other and love each other. Because there's no option at this particular point. That's true. You better know your children, your husband. This is an opportunity for good relationships. And no fighting. No fighting allowed. Okay. On that happy note, all
Hare
good.
Krishna.
What's that?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Dandavat Pranam. Gurudev, is
Oh, yeah.
evening possible time for you?
Evening is a good time. On evening here, I am doing Ram Katha on Facebook. So that's not a good time for me. At least evening in Fiji, after my dinner, we do about an hour of Ram Katha on Facebook, not on this app here. This is usually a good time for me in Fiji.
All right, Gurudev. Over the weekend, I will be able to meet everybody, you
and you just be careful of catching the virus. I mean, the people who are working in the medical field are the most vulnerable to the viruses.
Yes, Gurudev, we hardly see any patients. We just talk over the phone. Maybe if they need, then we call them in. But we really can't avoid 100%.
Just be careful, because a lot of health workers have gotten the virus.
Yes, Gurudev.
So the best thing, actually, one thing I should mention, as far as the virus is concerned, preventing it, if you get exposed to it, before you get exposed to it, I request everyone to build up their immune systems. Take oranges, vitamin C, vitamin D, and at least a little bit of zinc every day. Because it's going to be too late once you get the virus. And ultimately, even though all the governments in the world are trying to flatten out the curve, you all know what I mean by flatten out the curve? Because they don't want everyone to get it at once. Ultimately, I think the vast majority of people are going to be exposed to the virus. So it's an opportunity to get your health together. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, get some sunshine. And when you are exposed to the virus, and there's a good chance that all of us are going to be exposed to the virus, you're not going to be able to prevent that. The governments are just trying to delay it at this point. Then there's a good chance you really won't get a very serious case. Just be careful. Just be careful, and be Krishna conscious.
Just one more question related to the supplements you mentioned. Like vitamin D in New Zealand, it has got a covering of gelatin.
No, wait a second. You get a vitamin D that's liquid.
Liquid, but the dose, it's too big. Like it comes for pediatric age, and it's like one dose would be many bottles, and it has got alcohol in it. In the liquid.
Alcohol for medicine is fine. I'm taking vitamin D every day, and I'll show you my bottle.
He's just talking about the one that they can prescribe medically, not the ones that you can get more from the health food store.
So here's vitamin D. I don't know if you can see it because of the background here. And
yes, Guru, you can see.
This, even one portion, 20 micrograms, which is 400% of the daily requirement. One drop. This is very concentrated.
Yeah, the same one we have, but has got alcohol. So you said it's better to have liquid one.
Yeah. Don't worry about the alcohol. Medicine has alcohol. I hate to tell you, most of your flu shots have eggs in them. Did you know that?
No.
She knows that.
Anybody who knows about these things knows that they make the flu vaccine from eggs. Does anyone there know that? No.